First, I want to openly and publicly thank my Heavenly Father for all power, honor, and glory belongs to Him. I thank Him for the plan my life has taken. I thank Him for placing various people in my life, from my family, friends, colleagues, and mentors. And I thank Him for placing it upon the heart of the elected prosecutor to appoint me deputy so that I can directly serve, lead, and protect my community. And for the selection committee for giving me the opportunity to stand before you today in honoring such a great man, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and I sincerely thank God for each and every one of you here today. Today, I could stand before you extolling all of the qualities and achievements of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., like his extraordinary faith, academic successes, linguistic and literary works, role as a husband, father, civil rights leader, pastor, and Nobel Peace Prize winner, or spend some time repainting for you the scene of how he tamed with the whip of civil disobedience, segregation, the offspring of that savage beast slavery which used to run wild throughout the southern plains of early U.S. history. However, it is not so much what we say at the ceremony or the ceremony itself that actually honors such a man as Dr. King, but our everyday lives as the beneficiaries for whom his contributions and sacrifices were given. Truly, we honor him best when we make real the dream of promised land living he prophesied about in his I Have a Dream speech in 1963, and when we put to proper use the guidance, instruction, and leadership he demonstrated and then died trying to tell us about in his last speech, I've Been to the Mountaintop, just one day before his assassination in 1968. Well, I've examined with attention to detail both the I Have a Dream and I've Been to the Mountaintop speeches. And what became ever so clear to me was the seldom talked about but most reputable mantle Dr. King ever wore and his sole purpose of his existence. It was not to be the husband of Coretta Scott, Time Magazine's Man of the Year, pastor of Ebenezer Baptist Church, to hold 5 honorary degrees, or even receive the Nobel Peace Prize. Although each of these milestones served its purpose, King's true mission was to serve as a prophet to the world and then die a prophet's death. Dr. King was the mouthpiece of God, foretelling, preparing, and leading a nation of God's people toward a future America flowing with equality and justice for all. We are now living in that dispensation of time that King dreamed about. For those reasons, I noticed an irrefutable parallel between Moses of the Bible and Dr. King. For those of you who do not know the Exodus story of Moses, Moses was a great prophet and leader who brought God's people out of Egyptian slavery to the edge of the Promised Land. The Promised Land was a place overflowing with milk and honey and every other material and social provision and opportunity imaginable. However, because of disbelief, disobedience, and the failure to leave the bitterness of slavery behind, the newly freed Israelites didn't go directly to the Promised Land, but wandered in the wilderness 40 years until the former slaves died out. With the exception of Joshua and Caleb, only the offspring who were born in the wilderness of these ex-slaves during that 40-year period entered into the Promised Land. So I guess you could say they were born to be wild, for they had no recollection of slavery and were ripe for such an undertaking. Even Moses, their faithful leader, did not enter into the Promised Land. He did, however, enjoy a mountaintop experience before he died. Joshua succeeded Moses and led the Israelites the rest of the way. God promised success to Joshua as long as he followed the instructions and commandments given to him by Moses. However, before the Israelites could fully occupy and enjoy the Promised Land, they had to rid the land of enemies. This took several more years. Still then, they did not complete the task, which led to disappointments, difficulties, and uprooting them in the future. My parallel is this. Like Moses, Dr. King led God's people, a then predominantly Christian nation, toward a Promised Land overflowing with equality, liberty, and justice. And from the very summit of segregation, King pointed them in the direction they should go. He entrusted some of you sitting here as the Joshuas of that day, who were not paralyzed by the aftershocks of slavery or wandering around in circles, hypnotized by the effects of segregation, with the task of leading this vibrant nation the rest of the way toward a land saturated with brotherly love. I personally believe that Joshua was chosen as leader because he didn't let slavery nor the wilderness experience cripple him with bitterness and resentment, but allowed it to motivate and challenge him to forge forward to the promises of something better. This is why I'm excited about the construction and operation of the Yerger Museum, because I believe that it will be a treasure trove to this community by making rich deposits in the hearts and minds of people here. It will help us see, measure, and appreciate how far we've come and empower us to continue to press forward.